The sun was low in the sky as Lieutenant Ryan finished setting up his small camp on the alien planet. He had been sent on a mission to explore uncharted lands, mapping strange flora and unusual terrain. The planet's surface glowed faintly in some places, the soil shimmering in colors he had never seen before. Tall, twisting plants swayed as though moved by an unseen wind, and distant sounds, like the whispers of the forest, echoed softly around him. Despite the beauty, Ryan knew the planet was dangerous. Many explorers had underestimated its challenges and never returned. He tightened the last peg of his tent and stepped back to admire his work. The soft orange light of the twin suns cast long shadows across the uneven ground. Ryan felt the isolation of being alone here, but he was trained for moments like this. Still, a faint unease tugged at him. Something about the quiet made the hairs on his neck rise. He was about to step inside the tent to prepare his evening meal when a rustling sound came from nearby. At first, he thought it was one of the small native animals he had seen earlier, creatures that darted quickly through the glowing grass. But this rustle was different. It was deliberate, careful, almost cautious. Ryan moved slowly toward the sound, hand hovering near the small energy weapon at his belt. The movement in the shadows stopped as he approached. His heart pounded in his chest, but he reminded himself to stay calm. He called out softly, "Hello? Is someone there?" No response came, only the quiet shifting of the underbrush. He slowly unzipped the tent to check inside, expecting nothing more than empty space. That was when he saw her. A young alien woman sat cross-legged in the center of his tent. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost like moonlight on water. Her large, luminous eyes were wide with fear and curiosity. Her hair floated lightly around her shoulders, as if it carried a life of its own. Ryan froze. He had expected wildlife or perhaps a thief, but not this. Not someone, or something, so unlike anything he had seen before. The woman's gaze met his, and she spoke softly in a language he did not understand. The sound was melodic and gentle, almost like music, but he could tell from her tone that she was frightened. She took a small step back, raising her hand slightly in a gesture of peace. Ryan realized that whatever danger he thought he might face, she was clearly terrified, not threatening. He lowered his hand from his weapon and said slowly, "I'm not going to hurt you." He paused, watching her carefully. "Do you need help?" Her eyes flickered with uncertainty, and she nodded slightly. Using gestures, he motioned for her to stay calm and offered a small packet of rations from his pack. She looked at the food, then at him, and after a moment of hesitation, accepted it. As she ate, Ryan studied her. She was slender but strong, moving with a grace that was almost hypnotic. Her skin had a soft glow, which seemed to pulse gently with each breath she took. Her eyes, dark at first glance, shifted with colors he could barely describe, hints of green, blue, and silver, like tiny galaxies trapped in them. He decided to try communicating further. Drawing simple shapes in the dirt floor of the tent, he pointed to himself and said, "Ryan, human." Then he pointed to her, and she repeated a small sound as if agreeing, though her pronunciation was foreign. Ryan smiled slightly. It was a start. Over the next hour, Ryan and the alien woman, Lyra as he learned her name, managed to exchange more ideas using gestures and simple drawings. She explained, through gestures and expressions, that she had been running from something dangerous on her world. She had escaped and found herself on this planet, unsure where to go, until she stumbled upon his camp. Ryan felt a mix of curiosity and responsibility. This planet was dangerous, and alone she would not survive. He offered her a place to stay, even temporarily, in his tent. She hesitated at first, but finally nodded, settling onto the soft ground beside him. Night began to fall. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the alien world into twilight. The sky shifted from deep orange to purples and blues, and faint stars began to appear. Ryan lit a small, energy-efficient lamp inside the tent to give them some warmth and comfort. Lyra watched the lights with awe, reaching out a hand as if to touch the small glow. Ryan noticed how gentle her movements were, almost reverent. He felt a strange sense of peace. In this world full of unknown dangers, her presence, though unexpected, made him feel less alone. After some time, Ryan decided it was safe enough to rest. He motioned for her to lie down, showing where the blankets were. She watched him carefully, then followed his guidance. They both settled quietly, the sounds of the alien forest around them providing a strange lullaby. As he lay on his side, Ryan thought about how strange the universe was. He had been trained to explore unknown planets, face dangers, and survive hostile environments. But he had never expected to meet someone like Lyra. She was not just alien in appearance, but in presence. Her calm and unspoken strength made him feel a connection he could not yet explain. Lyra, meanwhile, was equally fascinated. She had never encountered a human before, and Ryan's calm and gentle demeanor was unlike anyone she had known. For the first time since escaping, she felt safe. She wanted to trust him, to stay near him, even though she did not fully understand the human before her. Before sleep finally claimed them, Ryan glanced at Lyra. "We'll figure this out," he said softly, more to himself than to her. "We'll survive this planet together." Lyra's eyes met his briefly, and though she could not speak the words he used, her gaze said it all. She was ready to stay, to trust, and perhaps to begin something new. And on that quiet alien night, under the twin suns that had long since vanished, two strangers from different worlds found each other, not by chance, but by the delicate weaving of fate. The next morning, Ryan woke to the soft hum of the alien forest. The twin suns had not yet risen, but the sky glowed faintly with pale violet light. Lyra was already awake, sitting near the edge of the tent and staring at the strange plants outside. Her eyes reflected both curiosity and caution, as though every leaf and vine might hide danger. Ryan stretched and quietly moved outside to get a better view of the surroundings. The terrain was unlike any he had ever studied. Rolling hills shimmered with multicolored grass, and distant trees appeared to float, their roots twisting and curling in the glowing soil. Despite its beauty, he knew this planet was treacherous. Wild animals, sudden storms, and hidden terrain hazards made every step uncertain. He returned to the tent and smiled at Lyra. "We should explore today," he said gently. "Carefully. We can find water, food, and maybe a safer place to stay if we need it." Lyra tilted her head, then nodded. Using gestures, she showed him a small device she carried, a kind of scanner that pulsed faintly with light. She motioned toward the forest and pointed at certain areas, indicating where resources and safe paths might be. Ryan examined it and realized that her knowledge of this land was remarkable. He had trained for exploration, yet she seemed to know the dangers intuitively. Together they packed their supplies. Ryan carried his usual gear: tools, rations, a small energy weapon, and his communicator. Lyra carried her small scanner and a few personal items, moving with surprising speed and grace. Despite being from different worlds, they began to form a rhythm, moving like a team that had known each other longer than a day. As they ventured into the forest, the beauty of the alien planet became more intense. Trees arched high into the sky, their leaves glowing in shifting colors. Strange, floating insects hovered nearby, emitting soft melodic sounds. Ryan took careful notes, mapping the terrain, while Lyra led the way, guiding him around natural hazards. Suddenly, a rustling in the bushes stopped them. Ryan froze, scanning the area with his weapon ready. Lyra stepped forward slightly, her eyes narrowed. From the undergrowth, a pack of small wolf-like creatures emerged. They had translucent fur, sharp claws, and glowing eyes. Ryan remembered his training and moved slowly, showing he meant no harm. Lyra, however, stepped in front of him and raised her hands. To his amazement, the creatures paused. She whispered softly in her own language, and though Ryan couldn't understand the words, the creatures seemed to respond. They sniffed the air and then quietly retreated, disappearing back into the forest. Ryan stared at her in disbelief. "How did you do that?" he asked. Lyra smiled faintly, a mixture of pride and shyness. She gestured that she could communicate in some way with the creatures, sensing their emotions and intentions. Ryan nodded, impressed. This was more than survival skills. It was a gift, a connection to the world around her. After the encounter, they continued exploring, moving carefully along the forest paths. They discovered a clear stream of water flowing gently over rocks that glowed faintly under the morning light. Ryan knelt to drink and refilled their containers. Lyra crouched beside him, pointing out edible plants and small fruits that grew nearby. Each time, she demonstrated the knowledge of her planet, showing Ryan the delicate balance between danger and sustenance. As the sun rose fully, their bond grew stronger. They shared stories using gestures, drawings, and broken words. Ryan told her about Earth, humans, and his role as an explorer. Lyra told him about her homeworld, about dangers she had escaped, and about the life she had left behind. They laughed at small misunderstandings and smiled at discoveries they made together. The sense of friendship was growing into something deeper, something unspoken but powerful. By mid-afternoon, they came across ruins. Strange structures half buried in the glowing soil stood like ancient monuments. Ryan's curiosity flared. "This could tell us more about the planet," he said, eyes scanning the stones and symbols. Lyra nodded, guiding him carefully inside. The ruins were quiet, but Ryan sensed movement. Strange carvings and faint energy traces indicated that someone, or something, had been here recently. They explored cautiously, careful not to trigger any hidden traps. Lyra's senses, sharper than his, warned them of minor dangers: hidden holes, loose stones, and unstable walls. Together they navigated through the ancient halls. Inside one chamber, they discovered a small device glowing faintly on a pedestal. Ryan reached for it, but Lyra stopped him. She pointed to it and shook her head slightly. Using gestures, she explained it might be dangerous if disturbed. Ryan respected her caution and left it alone. "Good call," he said. "We can learn without touching everything." As they exited the ruins, the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows and bathing the forest in golden and purple light. They found a small clearing and decided to rest. Ryan built a small fire using controlled energy modules while Lyra sat nearby, eyes scanning the surroundings. Sitting together, they shared their last rations. For the first time, Ryan noticed a quiet vulnerability in Lyra. She had been through so much, running, hiding and fearing capture, but here, with him, she allowed herself to relax, even smile. Ryan felt the same. In this strange world, filled with dangers and wonders, Lyra's presence made the challenges feel smaller. He realized that survival was not just about avoiding danger, but also about trust, understanding, and companionship. As night fell, the clearing glowed faintly from the forest's bioluminescence. Lyra looked at Ryan, her eyes reflecting the soft lights. She hesitated, then, using gestures, conveyed something that made Ryan pause. She wanted to stay with him, not just tonight, but always. The idea was simple, yet profound. In a universe so large and uncertain, she wanted safety, companionship, and perhaps something more with him. Ryan felt a mix of surprise and warmth. He had never expected this. Yet looking at her, so brave, so intelligent, so unique, he understood. This bond, unexpected and fragile, was something worth protecting. Before they settled for the night, he gently said, "We'll face this planet together. Whatever comes, you're not alone anymore." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile, and she nodded. Though she could not yet speak all the words he used, her gaze said it all. She trusted him, and she wanted to be with him, under the alien stars. As the bioluminescent forest shimmered around them, Ryan and Lyra realized something important. They were from different worlds, yet together, they had discovered not just survival, but connection, trust, and the first spark of something far deeper. And so, as the night wrapped the forest in soft shadows, the two of them sat quietly, learning from each other, sharing small comforts, and preparing for the challenges the next day would bring. The bond they were forming would be the key to surviving not only the alien world, but also the unknown dangers that lay ahead. The next morning, Ryan woke to the soft glow of the twin suns rising above the horizon. The forest around their camp shimmered in gold and green, and the distant sounds of alien creatures greeted the new day. Lyra was already awake, sitting quietly beside the small fire he had built. Her luminous eyes reflected the sunrise, and she seemed more confident than the day before. Ryan smiled. "Ready to explore?" he asked, handing her a small pack with food and water. Lyra nodded, and together they began their trek deeper into the forest. Their mission was simple: explore, gather resources, and learn more about the alien world. But Ryan could sense that today would be different. The forest felt alive, almost aware of them. Every step seemed to echo softly, and strange shadows flitted between the glowing trees. Lyra moved confidently ahead, scanning the terrain with her scanner, alerting Ryan to hazards before he even noticed them. As they navigated through a narrow valley, a sudden roar echoed from above. Ryan ducked instinctively, drawing his weapon. Lyra placed a hand gently on his arm. "Wait," she said in her soft, melodic voice. Using gestures, she pointed toward the cliff above them. A large predator, unlike anything Ryan had seen, crouched atop the rocks. Its body was sleek, covered in dark reflective scales, and its eyes glowed with a fierce intelligence. Ryan's heart raced. The creature was fast, strong, and clearly territorial. He looked to Lyra for guidance. She took a deep breath and slowly raised her hands, then spoke in her language. The predator paused, tilting its head. Ryan watched in amazement as the creature's aggression softened slightly. Lyra had a calm confidence that seemed to reach even the wildest beings on this planet. The predator eventually retreated, leaping back into the shadows of the forest. Ryan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "How do you do that?" he asked quietly. Lyra smiled faintly, shaking her head. "I don't know. I just feel." She pointed to him and then to herself, indicating that the connection was mutual. Ryan nodded, understanding that on this planet, instincts, trust, and empathy were just as important as weapons and strength. They continued their journey, moving carefully through the glowing undergrowth. By midday, they discovered a small valley with a clear water stream and fruit-bearing trees. The valley was safe, quiet, and beautiful, a perfect place to rest. Ryan set down his pack and Lyra scanned the area with her device to confirm it was free of immediate danger. As they ate, Ryan and Lyra shared more about themselves. He drew simple sketches of Earth, oceans, forests, cities, and tried to explain human life. Lyra laughed softly at his drawings, pointing to certain areas and mimicking gestures he had made earlier. Then she drew a simple image of her world: strange mountains, floating islands, and luminous rivers. Though they were different, the images created a bridge of understanding between them. After a few hours, Ryan suggested exploring a nearby ridge for a better vantage point. Lyra agreed, and they began the climb. The slope was steep, but Ryan's experience and Lyra's agility made the journey easier. As they reached the top, the view took their breath away. The valley below shimmered with bioluminescent plants, and in the distance, mountains glowed faintly under the sun's light. The world was beautiful, dangerous, and alive. It was there, on that ridge, that Ryan finally spoke from his heart. "Lyra, I've never met anyone like you. I don't know how this happened, but I feel like we belong together here, even in this strange world." Lyra's eyes widened slightly, reflecting a mix of surprise, happiness, and something deeper. She stepped closer and took his hand in hers. Using gestures, she slowly drew a heart in the dirt and then pointed to herself and Ryan. The message was clear. She wanted to be with him. Forever. Ryan's heart swelled. The alien world, the dangers, the unknown, they all seemed small compared to this moment. He nodded firmly, squeezing her hand. "I want that too, Lyra. Whatever comes, I want to face it with you." Before they could celebrate, a sudden movement in the shadows alerted them. The hostile scouts who had been pursuing Lyra's people had tracked her here. Ryan instinctively moved in front of her, scanning the terrain. The scouts were strange, armored creatures, armed and clearly dangerous. They had been hunting her relentlessly, and now they were closing in. Ryan's training kicked in. He whispered to Lyra, and she immediately understood. Together they formulated a plan. Lyra would use her connection with the environment to create distractions, while Ryan led the direct defense. The scouts approached cautiously, not expecting the level of coordination between human and alien. The battle was intense but brief. Ryan's human ingenuity, setting traps, using the terrain, and careful tactics combined with Lyra's unique abilities, allowed them to outsmart and evade the attackers. The scouts retreated, clearly frustrated and unwilling to risk further losses. Breathing heavily, Ryan turned to Lyra. "That was close," he said, still scanning the area for danger. Lyra smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We are stronger together," she said simply. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of red and purple, they returned to their small valley. The battle had reminded them both of the dangers of the world, but it had also strengthened their bond. They sat together, hands intertwined, watching the twin suns disappear behind the horizon. Lyra looked at Ryan, her expression serious yet tender. Using gestures and a few simple words, she asked something that made his heart stop. She wanted to stay with him, not just as a companion, but as someone who would share her life with him forever. Ryan looked at her, awe and joy flooding through him. Yes, he said, holding her hand firmly. We will face everything together. Forever. In that moment, the dangers of the alien world faded. The glowing trees, the shimmering rivers, even the predators, they were all part of the adventure they would face as one. In the vast universe, they had found each other. Trust had turned into love, and survival had become a shared journey. As night wrapped the forest in shadows and soft light, Ryan and Lyra settled near their small fire. They spoke little, letting the silence speak for them. The connection between them was stronger than any words, a promise that whatever challenges the universe held, they would face them together, and under the alien stars, with the twin suns long gone but their memory glowing faintly in the sky, two beings from different worlds had discovered the rarest treasure of all: trust, companionship, and the choice to be together forever.